Most people would hesitate to give a hammer to a 4-year-old. When Emily's grandfather gave her one, it fired her passions. Most people would hesitate to give a hammer to a 4-year-old. The risks range from environmental to dental. When Emily Cummins' grandfather gave her a hammer, nothing calamitous happened, but it did fire her passions. I used to spend just hours with my granddad in the shed in the bottom of his garden. I was absolutely fascinated by his inventiveness and how he could take leftover materials and scraps and create toys for me and my cousins. This is where it started. Not in a classroom, not with expensive equipment, in a garden shed, with scraps, and a grandfather who trusted a 4-year-old with tools. When I got older, he started to teach me. We started by hammering nails into a workbench, and by the time I was in secondary school, I knew how to use a lathe and create my own toys. Emily knew instantly that she had found her passion. Though as a preschooler, she probably did not think of it in those terms. She felt a buzz right away and found that nothing else fascinated her anywhere near as much. There's something so fascinating in taking leftover materials and not only building something, but playing with it and feeling rewarded for having created it. Emily describes the feeling. There's something so fascinating for me in taking leftover materials and having the excitement of not only building something, but playing with it and feeling rewarded for having created it. This is intrinsic motivation. The reward is in the process itself, building and playing, creating and using. My granddad ignited a creative spark in me, which I hope I will never lose. He allowed her to do things that not all kids could do. He let me experiment with taking things apart and putting them back together. He would give me little challenges, and I was very creative at different ways of making things. When her granddad saw her interest, he became even more enthusiastic. He allowed me to do more and more. He trusted me to use his machinery, and he taught me so well. I made mistakes. I grated my finger on the disc sander, but I cannot explain the excitement I had. If my granddad had not encouraged me, I would not have known what technology was because it was not taught in school. Her other grandfather had trouble getting toothpaste out of a tube because of arthritis. She built an automatic dispenser for him. Industry experts judge her. She was terrified. By the time Emily got to high school, she had started entering technology competitions. She had also refined her purpose. Where once building and inventing was a way of making toys for herself and her cousin, now she wanted to make things that could address real-world problems. For her first major competition, she considered the trouble her other grandfather had getting toothpaste out of a tube because of his arthritis. She built an automatic dispenser for him. I ended up being judged by some industry experts. I was terrified because I never liked to speak out, but something happened during the presentation. I did the presentation and the judges started criticizing me, and I found a voice that I did not know I had. I really believed in my product and was passionate about it, and this self-belief came out. She won. They said they saw that the real passion I had for my product was different from what a lot of the other school children were doing, which was a PlayStation rack or something along those lines. This is the power of solving real problems. The passion is authentic, and judges can see it. For her last competition before university, she went for broke. Create a refrigerator that uses no electricity. Her teacher was worried. For Emily, that was the challenge. For her last competition before going to university, Emily went for broke. I decided to take the ridiculous challenge of creating a refrigerator that did not use any electricity. Her teacher was really worried. She knew that this was my last step before university. She said, "If you mess this one up, you're going to be in trouble." For me, that was the challenge right there. This is the mindset of someone in their element. The risk is not a deterrent. It is the attraction. I put everything into it. I was meeting with companies. I was doing research. I knew I could do it. She came up with a really simple refrigerator based on evaporation, which, has been around for a number of years. I never claimed to have invented evaporation. It involves heat transfer. You get a completely dry compartment, which is hygienic, and you can actually use dirty water to cool the product in the fridge. The project was a huge success. But Emily's teacher was at least partially right about this affecting her future at university. While schools would have been glad to have her, she found that she did not feel the same about them. My heart wasn't in it at all. Instead, she deferred university and broke the news to her parents. I'm going to Africa with my most sophisticated invention. My heart was not in it at all. This is the moment many people face. The safe path is clear. University, degree, career. But the heart is somewhere else. Emily took a deferment from university and then broke the news to her parents that she was going to go to Africa with her most sophisticated invention. At 18 years old, I wrote a business plan. I had never written a business plan before, so I went to my business teacher and came up with a really simple plan. I wound up winning £5,000 based on my passion and determination that my product was going to be a success. She made a deal with her parents. She would do volunteering work first. I went to Namibia and worked with a guy who runs a hostel. He took me into a township in Namibia in Windhoek, where I tested my fridge. I did not tell my parents because they would have been terrified. 18 years old, in a Namibian township, testing a refrigerator she invented. I started to teach people how to make my fridges, using local resources and materials. I started to create businesses with these women, and they passed along the idea. In Windhoek Township, Emily did not just test her fridge. She started to teach people how to make them. I was using local resources and local materials. And I started to create some businesses with these women, and they passed along the idea. This is the pattern of sustainable impact. Not giving people a product, teaching them to make it themselves, with local materials, so they can build businesses and teach others. Now my fridge is used across Namibia, South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Botswana. From a garden shed in England, to 4 countries across Africa. From a 4-year-old with a hammer, to an 18-year-old teaching women to build refrigerators that do not need electricity. From making toys for cousins, to solving real-world problems that change lives. Emily Cummins embraced her passion at a very young age, and continues to build on that passion in profound ways. What does Emily's story tell us about the nature of passion? It starts with exposure, a grandfather with tools. It grows through encouragement. It finds purpose through real problems. What does Emily's story tell us about the nature of passion? Passion begins with exposure. A grandfather who gave a 4-year-old a hammer and trusted her with tools and let her experiment. Passion grows through encouragement. When her granddad saw her interest, he became even more enthusiastic. He taught her more, trusted her with machinery, let her make mistakes. Passion finds direction through real problems. First, toys for herself and cousins. Then, toothpaste dispenser for our arthritic grandfather. Then, refrigerators for people without electricity. The passion stayed the same. Building things, creating solutions. But the purpose evolved. Passion requires courage to follow. Deferring university. Going to Africa at 18. Teaching in townships her parents did not even know about. And passion creates impact that multiplies. Now my fridge is used across Namibia, South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Botswana. Not because Emily is still there building them all, because she taught others. Someone needs to give you the hammer, the tools, the permission to experiment, but then you have to use them and build something that matters. Emily Cummins was 4 years old when her grandfather gave her a hammer. Most people would have hesitated. He trusted her, and that trust changed her life. And eventually, the lives of thousands of people across Africa. Someone needs to give you the hammer, the tools, the permission to experiment. Maybe that someone is a grandfather, or a teacher, or a mentor, or maybe it is you giving yourself permission. But the hammer is just the beginning. You have to use it. You have to build something. Start with toys. Build for yourself. Feel the buzz, the excitement of creating. Then look for real problems. Arthritis, lack of electricity, whatever you see that needs solving, and build solutions. Emily went from a garden shed to 4 countries in Africa. Your hammer is waiting. What will you build?